Hello again. That last display was quite the spectacle, was it not? Even if it has only raised more questions, I always love when the pieces of a narrative like this one come together with such gravitas for a finale. Speaking of questions, I'm sure you have more than a few for me regarding what you just witnessed, correct? Well, I would be absolutely delighted to provide you with some more insight. Of course, there are only certain key points I'm allowed to bring to your attention. I wouldn't want to spoil the story for you. Do not worry about the time it will take. In the grand scheme of our adventure together, I promise you that it will only be a minuscule deduction. I would like to start by taking a moment to tell you a little bit more about myself and the role that I play in all of this. Despite our interactions so far, I have yet to be courteous enough to truly present more to you than my name, much less who I really am, or what I do. For shame on me, always getting ahead of myself. After all, no matter how you perceive it, I too am simply another character present for your observation. So please follow me for a short while. I promise that at the very least, your eyes will not hurt nearly as much as you may fear as we go forward.
Enter name.
My name again is White Noise. I serve as the eternal guardian presiding over the solitary universe and all that it encompasses and produces. I was created by the All-Mother of Life and Existence, Caparia, to act as the mediator between her creations and those of her split equal, Gaia, who influences all that remains. Originally, I was to be the first of many individuals similar to myself, but my creator was abruptly demolished and apprehended by her equal, who trapped her within the single life-bound world she was able to craft beforehand. My personal domain is what separates the remnants of her from the self-imposed perfection of him. The world I have been gifted to presides over lives and dies in a constant cyclical nature. As the planet and universe around it shift after death, so too does my own form, which has taken on many different representations of the worlds lost before the present. Currently I watch over Repeton, the home of a species referred to as trolls, and of the 12 heroes we have been observing. In each world, these 12 individuals are destined to return and converge in a medium crafted and shifted by my own two hands. This is achieved through participation in a game of my own design, a game created and passed down through each generation, with the resolute goals of the documentation of each iteration, and ultimately the salvation of my creator, so that soon she may be restored to her former beauty. Our present iteration holds what I believe to finally be a perfectly crafted failsafe. I must hope that it will serve its purpose well, as this attempt will be the very last that I will be able to oversee, as I am fated to return to my creator at its fruition. Aside from all that, I can simplify who I am into two topics of interest. I am a storyteller, and I am a family man.
Where are we?
Our current location is known only as the Static, my aforementioned domain. It has no real place within the bounds of our narrative, and exists outside of the world you have come to know thus far. Here it would appear as if there is no beginning and no end, only myself and what remains of my desired kin. This realm's purpose is to act as a wall between the living and the unknown, coating the outskirts of existence with my essence, so that he is incapable of returning to finish what he started. Connected with me as the Static is, it as well doubles as my living space, providing me with all that I need to maintain my work. How do I obtain and preserve my resources in nothing but a visually abrasive void? Well, for now, let's just say that I possess a very active imagination.
What is the game?
The game I mentioned previously is not of any real importance by itself. It holds intrinsic value, but primarily it serves as a stepping stone for our heroes to properly reach their potential and serve their purpose. It acts as a plot device, if you will. The game that has now been released to our charges is something that I use as a tool to provide those who are destined to play it with the proper influence and means to aid me in my goal. Each instance of its use, while evolutionary, has always held this simple focus. Of course, it has never worked as fully intended. It has only been perfecting itself over numerous resets of our known universe. Only now, as I brought up before, do I believe it to be in a near pristine state, capable of eventually producing a successful outcome. Though its desired conclusion is still far from easy to reach. The 12 roles taken in by the cast of this game have been set since the very beginning, though in the very special case of this run, I have more than once needed to take measures to ensure certain standards are met. And even still, it wasn't enough. Those who are to join this game are eternally bound to its confines, in and out of play. It is the reason they live, the reason they die, and the reason this has all been going on for so long. The characters are always of a consistent basis, the purest representations of what makes up each and every life, and as such they are given roles to fill for the aspects of existence, shattered pieces formed by their traits, to guide and mentor our group for the utilization of renewal. These aspects are only a half representation of our players. Of course, they are in a class of their own. They have their personal interests, thoughts, feeling and turmoil to work past. But no matter how much they change, the mold made for them can never be unfulfilled. With a few exceptions. Come, let me show you what I mean. We can take the scenic route through my humble abode. Just let me say a word to my loving wife and child. They haven't seen me for quite a while, given that my job requires a rather strenuous schedule to upkeep.
Say hello.
My dear Bonehilda, my little Bona, I'm sure you are both lively due to all the festivities taking place. Oh, is that so? Well, Bona, you know the rules. Listen to your mother. Don't take that tone of voice with me again, young man. Don't forget that I provide you with this never-ending form, above, below, and around you. Forgive my slight outburst. Bona is quite the troublemaker. He always says the most outlandish things and catchphrases. You could probably put them on a t-shirt, coffee mugs, and who knows what else. He's going to grow up to be a star, by which I mean he is inevitably going to shine, darken, and then explode just like his dear old father. But here we are.
Enter room.
This is where the magic happens. Rather literally. I would like to call this my workspace, but a majority of what you see isn't by any control of mine. My influence does carry over to the planet in which I dictate, but these phantoms you see around the universe weren't constructed by me, only used by me in the past for construction, and will be used in the near future for fuel.
Look at the lovely creature.
When a universal cycle is ended, naturally or by force, even though it does not bear life anymore, the information left behind is invaluable, both in creating a better world and a better game, which I must see happens each and every time the inevitable rears its ugly head, lest we have nothing in return for any world's decay and lives lost in the process. Which is why I keep these dead phantoms of past worlds stored for memory in these key slots. I feel ashamed that the price to pay for these exchanges are always so high. But for certain things to advance, sacrifices must be made. And certain players always like to make sure that happens, even at their own expense.
Go further.
Back here is the Insiposphere, a one-sided pocket that wraps around itself, making a used medium for gameplay. Unlike my creator, I cannot simply craft life. I can, however, create complex space, areas, as well as tangible and intangible non-living objects affected by this. These non-living objects can only be given an illusion of something like a soul through a certain processing power, one which runs limitless until my death, myself. These creatures live on special moons relevant to all prior sessions, which gives a sense of livelihood to the representations of our cast, who are able to project themselves in a similar fashion to the way I allow these people to live. Things are different for them this time, for once, due to a certain adjustment of their lifestyle. 4 special pieces of these non-player characters will learn the true extent of what that means soon enough. As for our protagonist, who we just saw pop in at the end of the last act, he is on his way here now, though from my perspective I will not be able to see his entry to his planet until it is deemed necessary for me to do so. You seem rather eager to move along already. I don't blame you for that in the slightest. After all, I know more about you than you may recognize. We've always had a wonderful relationship, you and me. I thank you for so much of who I am that I can't even express it through words. And that means a lot coming from me. I'd also like to bring to your attention that from this point forward, our story will be much less simple to follow on a regular timeline. Nowhere near as bad as in the past, but there is just so much to show, and so little time to show it without getting disjointed. Details are always important, even if you don't notice them right away. In short, the crutches are no longer able to be applied. I hope you're ready for that. Moments like these will have to be a little more frequent as well if you want to grasp a true knowledge for everything you wish to know. This next time it happens, you won't be lucky enough to spend it with me, but you will start to notice more frequent appearances of myself as a whole. I need to grasp at what little spotlight I have left. It's selfish, I know. Just think of these as something akin to, say, a commercial break. Those are common enough, aren't they? That break ends now. Let's get back to viewing. This is a very important scene, you see.